Commander Daiwan stood on the bridge of his warship, staring at the endless stars outside. For 20 years, he had served the Velthran Empire. For 20 years, nothing had surprised him. The Empire controlled 47 star systems. Their technology was the best in the galaxy. Their sensors could detect a single ship from 1,000,000 kilometers away. Nothing could hide from them. Nothing could surprise them. Until today. "Commander, the morning scan is complete," said Lieutenant Hyun from his station. "All systems normal. No threats detected." Daewon nodded. It was always the same report. The border of Velthran space was quiet. Too quiet, some said. But Daewon liked quiet. Quiet meant safe. Quiet meant the Empire was strong. The Terminus 7 system was the last outpost before empty space. 6 planets orbited a yellow star. Only one had a small colony. The rest were just rocks and gas. Daewon's battle group of 12 warships patrolled this area. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. "Sir, I'm getting something strange," said the sensor officer. She was young, barely 2 years out of the academy. Her name was Isul, and she looked worried. "What is it?" Daewon walked over to her station. "Gravitational readings are fluctuating, just small waves. They started 3 minutes ago." Isul pointed at her screen. "But there's nothing there. No ships, no asteroids, nothing." Hyun joined them. He studied the data with a frown. "Probably just sensor ghosts. The equipment here is old. Command keeps promising us upgrades." Daewon agreed. "Run a diagnostic on the sensor array. If it's malfunctioning, we need to know." Isul nodded and started typing. But something felt wrong. Daewon had learned to trust his instincts over the years. That feeling in his gut had saved his life more than once. He looked out at the stars again. Everything seemed normal, but the feeling wouldn't go away. "Diagnostic complete, sir," Isul said. "All systems working perfectly, but the gravitational readings are getting stronger." "Show me," Daewon ordered. The main screen lit up with sensor data. Waves of gravitational force rippled through space near their position. They were small, but they were real, and they were getting bigger. "Could it be a black hole?" asked Hyun. "No," Isul said quickly. "The pattern is wrong, and black holes don't just appear. This is something else." "All ships, battle stations," Daewon commanded. His crew moved quickly. Alarms rang throughout the vessel. "Raise shields! Charge weapons! Something is coming!" The other 11 ships in his battle group responded immediately. Within seconds, they were ready for combat. But ready for what? There was still nothing on the sensors. Then it happened. Space itself seemed to tear open 50,000 kilometers in front of them, but there was no flash of light, no explosion of energy, no warp signature. One moment there was empty space. The next moment, a ship was there. "Contact!" Isul shouted. "Ship detected at range 50,000 kilometers!" "Impossible," Hyun breathed. "The sensors showed nothing. No warp entry, no engine signature, nothing." Daewon stared at the screen. The ship was smaller than a Velthran dreadnought, but bigger than a cruiser. Its design was strange, smooth and dark, with no obvious weapons or engines visible. It looked like a single piece of metal shaped by some unknown hand. "Scan that vessel," Daewon ordered. "I want to know everything about it." Isul worked frantically. "Sir, the scans are having trouble. The hull material is unknown. Energy readings are minimal. I can't detect any power core. It's like the ship is barely even there." "What do you mean, barely there?" Daewon demanded. "The mass readings keep changing. Sometimes it registers as solid matter. Sometimes it's like scanning empty space." Isul looked terrified. "Commander, this shouldn't be possible." Hyun stepped closer to Daewon. "Should we open fire?" "No, not yet." Daewon took a deep breath. "Open a communication channel. All frequencies." The communication officer worked his controls. "Channel open, sir." "Unknown vessel. This is Commander Day Wan of the Veltron Imperial Fleet. You have entered Empire space without authorization. Identify yourself immediately." Day Wan kept his voice firm and commanding. Silence. The strange ship didn't move. It didn't respond. It just floated there in space like a ghost. "Send the message again," Day Wan said. "Try all known languages." The communication officer sent the message in Veltron, then in the languages of the 6 other species the Empire had contact with. Still nothing. Minutes passed. The tension on the bridge grew thick. Every officer watched the mysterious ship. Day Wan's hand moved closer to the weapon controls. If this was an enemy, they needed to strike first. Then the strange ship moved. But it didn't fire weapons. Instead, a small object launched from its hull. It was tiny, no bigger than a person's hand. "Incoming projectile!" Hyun shouted. "Shields up!" "Shields are already up," Isul said. "But sir, that object just passed right through them. It's heading for us." "Destroy it!" Day Wan ordered. Point defense weapons fired. Beams of energy stabbed out at the tiny object, but they passed right through it. The object didn't slow down. It didn't dodge. It simply ignored the weapons completely. "It's entering the ship!" Isul screamed. "It passed through the hull!" Everyone on the bridge stood frozen. What kind of technology could pass through shields and armor like they weren't even there? Day Wan drew his sidearm. "Security to the bridge! Prepare for boarding!" But nothing happened. No explosion, no gas, no soldiers appearing. Instead, a light began to glow in the center of the bridge. It grew brighter and brighter until everyone had to shield their eyes. When the light faded, a figure stood before them. But it wasn't really there. Day Wan could see through it. A hologram. The figure was humanoid, but clearly not Veltron. She was smaller, with strange proportions. Her skin was smooth and pale. Her hair was dark and fell past her shoulders. She wore a uniform of some kind, dark blue with silver markings. The woman looked around the bridge calmly. Her eyes met Day Wan's. When she spoke, her voice came from the hologram clearly. And she spoke in perfect Veltron. "Commander Day Wan, my name is Captain Ji Wan. I command the human warship Defiant Dawn. We have been observing your empire for some time now. I apologize for the dramatic entrance, but we needed to be certain we had your complete attention." Day Wan's mouth felt dry. Humans? He had never heard of humans before. How could an entire species be unknown to the Empire? "You are not here to attack?" he asked carefully. "No," Ji Wan said. Her expression was serious. "We are not here to conquer. We are not here to invade. We are here to warn you, Commander. Something terrible is coming. Something that will destroy your empire and everyone in it. We have seen it happen to other civilizations. We barely survived it ourselves." "What are you talking about?" Hyun demanded. "What threat?" Ji Wan's hologram turned to face him. "The swarm. It is already approaching your territory. Your sensors cannot detect it. Your weapons cannot harm it. But it is coming, and it will consume everything." The bridge was silent. Every officer stared at the hologram in shock and disbelief. Ji Wan looked back at Day Wan. "You have 3 weeks, Commander. 3 weeks before the swarm reaches your first colonies. 3 weeks to decide if you will accept our help or face extinction alone." The hologram flickered and vanished. The small probe that had entered the ship suddenly reappeared in the middle of the bridge, falling to the floor with a soft clatter. Outside, the mysterious human warship began to fade. Within seconds, it was gone completely. The sensors showed nothing but empty space again. Day Wan stood frozen, his mind racing. What had just happened? Who were these humans? And what was this swarm they spoke of? "Commander," Isul said quietly. "What do we do?" Day Wan looked at the probe lying on the floor. Then he looked out at the empty space where the impossible ship had been. "Contact Imperial Command," he said slowly. "Tell them we have a situation. Tell them that everything we thought we knew about our security just became obsolete. And tell them that we might be facing a threat we cannot fight alone. Admiral Minho arrived at Terminus 7 within 18 hours. He brought with him the pride of the Imperial fleet, the massive dreadnought Eternal Victory. It was 3 times the size of Day Wan's largest ship. Its weapons could destroy a planet. Its shields could withstand anything. Or so everyone thought. Day Wan stood at attention in the conference room as the Admiral entered. Minho was old. His scales dulled with age, but his eyes were sharp. He had fought in the border wars 30 years ago. He had never lost a battle. He did not like surprises. "Show me everything," Minho said without greeting. Day Wan played the recording, the mysterious appearance of the human ship, the probe that passed through shields and armor, the hologram of Captain Jiwan, her warning about the swarm. Minho watched it all in silence. When it ended, he stood and paced the room. "This is impossible. Our sensors are the best in the galaxy. Nothing can hide from them." "Yet they did, sir," Day Wan said carefully. "Then our sensors are broken. Or this is some kind of trick, an elaborate deception." Minho stopped pacing. "These humans, whoever they are, violated our space. They threatened us. This is an act of war." "With respect, Admiral, I don't think they threatened us. They warned us." Minho's eyes narrowed. "You believe them? You believe this story about a swarm that will destroy us all?" "I believe they have technology far beyond ours," Day Wan said. "If they wanted to attack us, we couldn't stop them." Before Minho could respond, an officer entered quickly. "Admiral, the humans have sent a message. They request a meeting, face-to-face, on the neutral trading station at Kelvor." "How generous of them," Minho said coldly. "Tell them we accept, but we go with a full battle group. If this is a trap, we'll be ready." The trading station at Kelvor orbited a dead moon. It was owned by no one, used by everyone. Merchants from different species came here to trade. It was one of the few places where the Empire met outsiders peacefully. Day Wan accompanied Admiral Minho to the station. So did Lieutenant Hyun and 30 armed soldiers. They docked at the main port and moved through the busy corridors. Aliens of various species watched them pass, some with curiosity, some with fear. The meeting room was simple, a round table, chairs, nothing more. They waited inside for 10 minutes. Then the door opened. Captain Jiwan entered first. She was smaller than Day Wan expected. Humans were short compared to Veltron's, barely reaching his chest. She looked fragile with thin limbs and soft skin. No scales, no natural armor. How did such a weak species survive? Behind her came 2 others. A human male in an engineer's uniform. The name tag said Borum, and 2 guards carrying weapons Day Wan didn't recognize. They moved with confidence despite their size. Jiwan smiled and bowed slightly. "Thank you for meeting with us. I know this is difficult." "Sit," Minho said. He did not return the smile. "You violated our space. You infiltrated our defenses. Explain yourself." Jiwan sat down calmly. "We had to prove that your sensors couldn't detect us. If we had simply sent a message, would you have believed us?" "No," Minho admitted. "We would have ignored you." "Exactly. So we showed you the truth. Your empire is not as safe as you think." Jiwan gestured to Borum. "Our engineer can explain how." Borum stood and projected a hologram from a small device. It showed a ship moving through space. "This is our phase shift drive. It allows our ships to exist slightly outside normal space-time. We're still here, but not completely. Your sensors scan normal space only. They can't detect us." "Impossible," Minho said flatly. "You saw it happen," Jiwan replied. "We appeared right in front of Commander Day Wan's fleet, 50,000 kilometers away. Your sensors showed nothing until we fully phased back into normal space." Hyun leaned forward. How long have you been watching us? 2 years, Ji-won said honestly. We've observed 17 of your systems. We've seen your ships, your stations, your colonies. We've never been detected once. The room went cold. Minho's hands clenched into fists. You admit to spying on the Empire? You expect us not to consider this an act of war? We expect you to be smart, Ji-won said firmly, because the swarm doesn't care about your pride or your anger. It only cares about consuming everything in its path. This swarm, Daewon said. What is it exactly? Borum changed the hologram. It showed a dark cloud moving through space. The swarm is hard to explain. It's not a species. It's not a machine. It's something else. We think it's a form of sentient dark matter. It exists partially in normal space and partially in subspace. Dark matter? Hyun frowned. That's theoretical. Not anymore, Ji-won said quietly. The swarm is very real. It consumes everything. Organic matter, inorganic matter, even energy itself. It breaks everything down to its basic components and absorbs it. Planets, ships, people, all become part of the swarm. Minho stood up angrily. And why should we believe any of this? Where is your proof? Ji-won looked sad. Our proof is in the ashes of 2 human colony worlds, 3 billion people, gone in days. We barely escaped with our lives. We've been running ever since, trying to warn others. Show me this proof, Minho demanded. Borum changed the hologram again. It showed planets being consumed by darkness, cities falling silent, ships trying to flee and being caught. The images were horrible. Daewon felt sick watching them. How do we know these images are real? Minho asked, but his voice was less certain now. You don't, Ji-won admitted. Not yet, but you will, because the swarm is already at your borders. 3 of your outer colonies have gone silent in the past week. Haven 12, Outpost Gamma, New Velthra, no communication, no signals, nothing. Minho's face went pale. How do you know that? Because we've been watching, Ji-won said, and we know what silence means. It means the swarm has already begun feeding. Daewon felt his blood run cold. We need to check this. Contact those colonies immediately. Hyun was already working on his communication device. His face showed the answer before he spoke. Sir, I can't reach any of them. All 3 colonies are offline. Communications can fail, Minho said, but he didn't sound convinced anymore. Not all 3 at once, Daewon said, not without any warning or distress calls. Ji-won stood slowly. Admiral Minho, I understand your suspicion. I understand your pride. But right now, understanding doesn't matter. Survival matters. We have technology that can fight the swarm. You don't. We're offering to help you, to share what we know, to fight together. And what do you want in return? Minho asked coldly. What's the price for this help? Nothing, Ji-won said simply. We want nothing except to stop the swarm from killing more people. We've seen what it does. We won't let it happen again if we can prevent it. I find that hard to believe, Minho said. No one helps for free. We do, Borum said quietly, because we created this problem. Everyone stared at him. Ji-won closed her eyes and sighed. Borum, we weren't going to mention that yet. They need to know the truth, Borum insisted. He looked at Minho. 500 years ago, human scientists experimented with dark matter reactors. They opened a rift to subspace. The swarm came through that rift. It was our mistake, our responsibility. We won't abandon others to face what we unleashed. The room was silent for a long moment. Daewon felt the weight of that confession. These humans had created the very monster that threatened them all. You expect us to trust you after hearing that? Minho said. You brought this disaster to the galaxy. Yes, Ji-won said firmly. We did. And we've spent 500 years trying to fix it. We've developed weapons, defenses. We know how to fight the swarm, you don't. So you can either accept our help and maybe survive, or refuse it and definitely die." Minho's jaw worked silently. Pride fought with reason on his face. Finally, he spoke. "I need to consult with the Emperor. This decision is beyond my authority." "You have 3 weeks," Ji-won reminded him. "After that, the main swarm mass reaches your core systems. After that, it won't matter what you decide." "We'll send a ship to investigate the silent colonies," Minho said. "If we find evidence of this swarm, we'll talk again. Until then, leave our space." Ji-won nodded. "Fair enough. But Admiral, when you send that ship, let us accompany it. Your sensors can't detect the swarm. Ours can. You'll need us to see what's really there." Minho considered this. "Agreed. Commander Dae-won will lead the investigation. Your ship will follow his orders." "Understood," Ji-won said. She stood and bowed again. "Thank you for listening, Admiral. I know this is difficult, but we're on the same side. We're all just trying to survive." As the humans left the room, Dae-won watched them go. Such small, fragile creatures. But they had technology that made the Empire look primitive. They had fought the swarm and survived. They had secrets the Empire couldn't even imagine. And now, whether Minho liked it or not, the Empire needed them. Hyun stood beside Dae-won. "What do you think, Commander? Are they telling the truth?" Dae-won thought about the hologram. The consumed worlds, the silence from 3 colonies, the impossible technology that let the humans hide from the best sensors in the galaxy. "I think we're about to find out," he said quietly. "And I think we're not going to like the answer." Commander Dae-won's destroyer moved slowly toward Haven 12. The mining colony had been silent for 8 days now. 40,000 people lived there, worked there, raised families there. Now there was nothing but silence. Behind his ship, the human warship Defiant Dawn followed like a shadow. It was there, but Dae-won's sensors still couldn't detect it properly. The humans had to broadcast their position just so his crew wouldn't accidentally fire on them. Lieutenant Hyun stood at the sensor station. "We're approaching the colony now, Commander. Initial scans show all structures intact. Power systems online, life support functioning normally." "But no life signs?" Dae-won asked. "None, sir, not a single one." That was wrong. Even if everyone had evacuated, there should be automated systems responding. Beacons, warning signals, something. But Haven 12 was silent as a tomb. "Captain Ji-won, do your sensors detect anything?" Dae-won spoke into the communication channel. Ji-won's voice came back immediately. "We're picking up trace particles, subspace radiation. The swarm has been here, Commander. Recently." Dae-won felt his stomach tighten. "How recently?" "Within the last 48 hours. The particles are still fresh." "Prepare a landing team," Dae-won ordered. "Full environmental suits, heavy weapons. We're going down there." 20 minutes later, Dae-won stood on the surface of Haven 12. The colony was built into a canyon, protected from the harsh winds. Hundreds of buildings stretched out before him. Houses, shops, schools, everything looked normal, peaceful, empty. Hyun walked beside him, scanning with a handheld device. Still no life signs. But there's something strange. The molecular patterns are off, like everything has been disturbed at a microscopic level. Behind them, 2 humans had joined the landing party. One was Ji-won herself. The other was a science officer named Taeyang. He wore glasses and carried more scanning equipment than seemed possible for one person. "Don't touch anything," Taeyang warned. "The swarm leaves residue. It's dangerous." They walked through the main street. Shops stood open. Food still sat on tables inside a restaurant. A child's toy lay abandoned in the middle of the road. But there were no bodies, no signs of struggle, no blood, nothing. "It's like everyone just vanished," Hyun whispered. "They did," Ji-won said quietly. That's what the swarm does. They reached the central hub of the colony. It was a large building where the mining operations were coordinated. Day-Wan pushed open the door. Inside, computers were still running. Lights were on. Coffee cups sat on desks, still full but long cold. Taiyang moved to one of the computers and connected his device. Accessing the colony logs. Let's see what happened. Everyone waited in tense silence. Day-Wan watched the windows, the shadows, anything that might move. The silence felt wrong, oppressive, like the air itself was holding its breath. "Got it," Taiyang said. He projected a hologram in the air. "This is from the colony's main surveillance system. 8 days ago." The hologram showed the colony street, people walking, working, living, normal activity. Then the sky began to darken, not like clouds, not like night. This was different. A shadow fell across the colony, a shadow that moved. The people in the hologram looked up. Some pointed, some ran. Most just stood there, confused. The shadow grew darker, thicker. It began to descend. When it touched the first person, something horrible happened. The person didn't scream, didn't fight. They simply began to dissolve, like ice melting in water. Skin broke apart into particles. Bones became dust. Everything that was human became nothing. In seconds, the person was gone. The shadow spread. Everyone it touched dissolved the same way. Buildings began to crumble. Metal turned to rust in moments. Stone became sand. The swarm consumed everything. The last thing the camera recorded was the shadow reaching toward it. Then the image went black. Day-Wan felt sick. Hyun turned away, his hand over his mouth. Even the hardened soldiers with them looked shaken. 40,000 people, Ji-Won said softly. Gone in less than an hour. How do we fight something like that? Hyun asked. His voice was hoarse. Taiyang adjusted his glasses. The swarm exists partially in subspace. Normal weapons pass right through it. You need weapons that can disrupt its subspace cohesion. Resonance cannons, phase torpedoes, technology that affects multiple dimensions at once. And you have these weapons? Day-Wan asked. Yes, Ji-Won said. We developed them after losing our first colonies. They work. Not perfectly, but they work. Commander, one of the soldiers called from outside. You need to see this. They rushed out. The soldier pointed at the sky. The same shadow was descending again. But this time, Day-Wan could see it with his own eyes. A dark cloud that moved against the wind. It flowed like liquid, pulsed like a living thing. The swarm! Taiyang shouted. It's back! Run! They sprinted toward their shuttles. The shadow moved faster. It reached out with dark tendrils. One touched a building. The structure began to collapse immediately, dissolving into dust. Get to the ships, Day-Wan ordered. Everyone now. They reached the shuttles and launched. Day-Wan's destroyer was in orbit, weapons ready. Fire on that cloud! All weapons! Energy beams stabbed down from orbit. They hit the shadow directly. The beams passed through it like it wasn't there. The shadow continued advancing, consuming more of the colony. Your weapons can't hurt it, Ji-Won's voice came over the communication channel. Let us try. The defiant dawn appeared suddenly in orbit. It was larger than Day-Wan remembered, or maybe it just seemed that way now that he knew what it could do. The human ship positioned itself above the colony. Firing resonance cannons, Ji-Won announced. The weapons didn't look like normal weapons. They didn't fire beams or missiles. Instead, waves of distortion rippled out from the human ship. The air itself seemed to vibrate. Space bent in strange ways. When the waves hit the shadow, it reacted. The dark cloud writhed and pulled back. Parts of it began to break apart, dissolving into nothing. It's working, Taiyang said excitedly. Hit it again! The defiant dawn fired repeatedly. Each wave disrupted more of the shadow. The swarm tried to fight back. Tendrils lashed out toward the human ship, but Jiwan's vessel dodged with impossible speed, phasing in and out of normal space. Daewon watched in amazement. The human ship moved like nothing he'd ever seen. It appeared in one place, fired, then vanished. Reappeared somewhere else. The swarm couldn't touch it. Slowly, the shadow began to retreat. It pulled away from the colony, moving back into the sky. The human ship pursued it, firing continuously. Finally, the shadow dissipated completely, breaking into particles that drifted away on the wind. "Target destroyed," Jiwan reported. "Or at least driven off. That was just a tendril. A scout. Not the main body." Daewon's hands were shaking. "If that was just a scout, how big is the main body?" There was a pause before Jiwan answered. "Remember how I said you had 3 weeks? That was optimistic. Our deep space probes have been tracking the main swarm mass. It's much larger than we thought, and it's moving faster." "How much faster?" Daewon demanded. "You have 10 days. Maybe less. The main swarm will reach your core systems in 10 days. And Commander, what you just saw was 1/100th the size of the main mass." Daewon felt the blood drain from his face. 1/100th? That tiny scout had consumed an entire colony in an hour. What could something 100 times larger do? "We need to report this to Admiral Minho immediately," Hyun said. "Agreed," Daewon said. He looked at the colony below. Most of it was still intact, but it was empty, dead. A ghost town waiting to crumble into dust. "Captain Jiwan, thank you," Daewon said. "You saved our lives today." "That's what allies do," Jiwan replied. "But Commander, you need to convince your leaders to accept our help. Soon. Because when the main swarm arrives, no amount of bravery or firepower will matter. Only the right technology will make a difference." On the surface of Haven 12, they found one survivor. Her name was Soo Jin. She had been in a deep mining shaft when the swarm came. The shadow hadn't reached that far down. She was traumatized, barely able to speak. Taeyang examined her carefully while Daewon watched. "She's in shock," the human scientist said, "but physically unharmed." "Can she tell us what happened?" Hyun asked. Soo Jin looked up at them with hollow eyes. "It sang," she whispered, "before it took them. It sang, beautiful and terrible. Everyone stopped to listen, and then it took them. All of them." "Sang?" Daewon frowned. "What do you mean?" "A sound. In the mind, not in the ears." Soo Jin's hands trembled. "It was calling us, inviting us. Some people walked toward it. They wanted to go. They wanted to join it." Taeyang's face went pale. "It's evolved. The swarm is learning to attract prey instead of just hunting it." "That's new?" Jiwan asked. "Very new. This is bad. Very bad." Taeyang looked at Daewon. "Commander, the swarm is adapting, becoming smarter. We need to move faster than we thought." Back on his ship, Daewon recorded his report to Admiral Minho. He included everything: the colony, the shadow, the resonance cannons that worked when nothing else did, the survivors' testimony, the warning that time was running out. "Admiral, we have no choice," Daewon concluded. "We must accept the humans' help. We must retrofit our ships with their technology. Because if we don't, the Empire will fall. Every world will become like Haven 12, empty, silent, dead." He sent the report and waited. Hyun sat beside him. "Do you think he'll listen?" "He has to," Daewon said. "Pride means nothing against extinction." The throne room of Velthra Prime was filled with voices. Angry voices, scared voices, voices demanding action, and voices demanding caution. Emperor Jinwoo sat on his throne and listened to them all. He was young for an emperor, barely 40 years old. His father had died suddenly, leaving him to rule an empire that now faced its greatest threat. Admiral Minho stood at the center of the room, playing Daewon's report for everyone to see. The hologram showed Haven 12, the shadow, the dissolution of 40,000 people, the human weapons that actually worked. When it ended, the room erupted in argument. "We cannot trust these humans," General Nari shouted. She was old and scarred from many battles. "They admitted to creating this monster. This is their fault." "But they're offering to help us fight it," Counselor Unji countered. She was the voice of reason on the council, always had been. "We need their technology. Their technology that they used to spy on us for 2 years, Nari shot back. "How do we know this isn't all part of some elaborate invasion plan?" "To what end?" Yunji demanded. "If they wanted to invade, they could have done it already. We can't even detect their ships." "Exactly my point. We know nothing about them." Emperor Jinwu raised his hand for silence. The room obeyed immediately. "Admiral Minho, what is your assessment?" Minho stepped forward. "Your Majesty, I have spent the last 3 days reviewing all data on the humans and this swarm. My conclusion is simple. The threat is real. Our weapons are useless against it. And without help, we will lose." "Lose?" Jinwu asked quietly. "Everything, Your Majesty. Every world, every colony, every citizen. The swarm doesn't negotiate. It doesn't take prisoners. It simply consumes. Within 2 months, the Empire will cease to exist." The room went silent. The weight of those words settled on everyone like a physical force. "And you believe the humans can help us?" Jinwu asked. "I believe they're our only chance," Minho said. "I don't like it. I don't trust them. But I've seen the evidence. Their weapons work. Ours don't. The mathematics is simple." A door opened. An officer entered quickly and whispered something to Minho. The Admiral's face darkened. "Your Majesty, the humans have arrived. Their ambassador Hana requests an audience. She brings with her a fleet of 12 ships." "12 ships?" Nari said. "That's an invasion force." "Or a rescue force," Yunji said. "Let them in. Hear what they have to say." Jinwu nodded. "Bring them to the council chamber, immediately." The council chamber was smaller than the throne room, more intimate. Emperor Jinwu sat at the head of a long table. Around him sat his advisors, generals, and scientists. They watched the door nervously. When it opened, the humans entered. Ambassador Hana led them. She was older than Captain Jiwon, with gray hair and tired eyes. Behind her came Jiwon herself, along with Boram and Taiyang. They all looked serious. "Your Majesty," Hana bowed deeply. "Thank you for seeing us." "Ambassador Hana," Jinwu said, "you bring ships to my capital world. Should I interpret this as a threat or an offer of help?" "Help, Your Majesty. Only help." Hana gestured behind her. "My companions have fought the swarm. They know what's coming. We're here to share that knowledge." "At what price?" General Nari demanded. "No price," Hana said simply. "We ask for nothing in return." "Everyone wants something," Nari said suspiciously. "We want to stop the swarm from killing more people," Jiwon said. "That's all. We've seen too many worlds fall, too many civilizations end. If we can prevent it here, we will." Yunji leaned forward. "What exactly are you proposing?" Hana activated a hologram. It showed a Velthran warship being modified. "We propose a retrofit program. We install phase shift drives in your ships so they can hide from the swarm. We install resonance cannons so they can fight it. We train your crews in the tactics that work." "How long would this take?" Jinwu asked. "For 200 ships? 2 weeks if we work around the clock." 200 ships? Minho frowned. "That's less than a quarter of our fleet." "It's all we can do in the time we have," Boram said. "The main swarm arrives in 10 days. We need time to prepare defenses, too. 200 hybrid warships is the best we can manage." And what do you require from us? Jinwoo asked carefully. Access to your ships, access to your shipyards, and trust. Hana met his eyes. Your crews will need to train under human officers. Your engineers will need to follow human designs. I know this is difficult for a proud empire, but it's necessary. The room erupted in protests. General Nari stood angrily. You ask us to put humans in command of our ships? Never! This is an insult. It's survival, Jiwon said firmly. Your people don't know how to use our technology. We do. Would you rather maintain pride and die, or accept help and live? General Nari, Jinwoo said quietly. Sit down. Nari sat, but her face showed her fury. Jinwoo looked at his advisors. Opinions? Counselor Unji spoke first. We have no choice, Your Majesty. The numbers don't lie. Without human technology, we cannot fight the swarm. Our scientists have confirmed this. One of those scientists, a researcher named Taehyun, stood up. Your Majesty, I've studied the data from Haven 12. The swarm exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Our weapons only affect three-dimensional space. The human weapons affect all dimensions. That's why they work. Can we not simply copy their technology? Nari asked. Not in 10 days, Taehyun said. Perhaps not in 10 years. The humans are at least 2 centuries ahead of us in dimensional physics. 2 centuries, Minho said heavily. And we thought we were the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. So did we, Hannah said quietly, until the swarm taught us otherwise. Jinwoo stood and walked to the window. Outside, his capital city stretched to the horizon. Billions of people lived here, worked here, dreamed here, all of them depending on him to protect them. If I agree to this, he said slowly. If I allow you to modify our ships and train our crews, what are our chances? Hana hesitated. Honestly, 60%, maybe 70% if everything goes perfectly. And if I refuse, 0, Your Majesty. The swarm will consume everything. Jinwoo turned back to face them. Admiral Minho, can you work with the humans? Minho's jaw worked silently. Finally, he nodded. If it saves the Empire, I can work with anyone. General Nari? I still don't trust them, Nari said. But I trust the evidence. If our scientists say we need human technology, then we need it. Jinwoo looked at Counselor Yunji. She smiled slightly. I believe this is the beginning of something important, Your Majesty. Not just survival, but partnership. The young emperor took a deep breath. Very well. Ambassador Hana, I accept your offer. You may begin modifying our ships. We will provide full access to our shipyards and crews. In return, I expect complete transparency, no secrets, no hidden agendas. Agreed, Your Majesty, Hana bowed. We'll begin immediately. One more thing, Jinwoo said. This partnership goes both ways. Our engineers will learn your technology. Our scientists will study your methods. We help each other. Equals, not master and servant. Hana smiled. That's exactly what we hoped you'd say. The work began that very day. 12 shipyards across Velthra Prime became centers of activity. Human engineers worked alongside Velthron technicians. Captain Jiwon oversaw the military training while Borum handled the technical modifications. It wasn't easy. The two species had very different approaches to everything. Humans improvised and adapted quickly. Velthrans followed strict procedures and hierarchies. Arguments were common. Frustrations ran high. But slowly, progress happened. Lieutenant Hyun found himself working with Boram on the first hybrid ship. It was called Unity's Edge, a symbolic name chosen by Emperor Jinwoo himself. Your power cores are actually better than ours, Boram admitted one day. He was covered in grease, working deep in the ship's engine room. More efficient, more stable. If we combine your cores with our phase shift drives, we can create something neither species could make alone. Hyun felt a strange pride at that. Really? Our technology is useful? Very useful, Borum grinned. You're not primitive, Lieutenant. Just specialize differently. Together we're stronger. It took 6 days to complete the Unity's Edge. When it powered up for the first time, both Hyun and Boram held their breath. The hybrid systems could fail spectacularly if something went wrong. But they didn't fail. The ship hummed to life perfectly. The phase shift drive engaged smoothly. The resonance cannons charged without issue. It worked. We did it, Hyun whispered. We did it, Boram agreed, slapping him on the back. Word spread quickly. If one ship could be modified successfully, others could too. The work accelerated. More ships were completed, more crews trained. The combined fleet began to take shape, but time was running out. Long-range probes detected the main swarm mass. It was massive beyond comprehension. A living nebula that spanned 50 astronomical units. It consumed everything in its path. Stars, planets, entire solar systems. And it was heading straight for Veltra Prime. Why here? Emperor Jinwoo asked during a strategy meeting. Why target our capital world specifically? Taiyang looked uncomfortable. Your Majesty, we've been investigating that. We found something in your research facilities, something that might explain it. What did you find? Your scientists have been experimenting with dark matter, Taiyang said carefully. Trying to create new power sources. Those experiments produce a specific energy signature, a signature that attracts the swarm. The room went cold. Jinwoo's face paled. We called it here? Our own research? Unintentionally, yes, Taiyang said. The same way humans did 500 years ago. Dark matter research opens rifts to subspace. The swarm can detect those rifts from incredible distances. Shut down all dark matter research immediately, Jinwoo ordered. Every facility, every experiment. Already done, Your Majesty, Minho said. But it's too late. The swarm has locked onto the signature. It's coming regardless of what we do now. Jinwoo slumped in his chair. We brought this on ourselves, just like the humans did. Which means we understand your burden, Hana said gently. This isn't about blame. It's about survival. 9 days after the work began, the fleet was ready. 200 hybrid warships, half Veltron, half human technology. Crews trained in new tactics, weapons that could actually hurt the swarm. It wasn't enough. Everyone knew it wasn't enough, but it was all they had. Commander Dae-won stood on the bridge of his newly modified destroyer. It felt different now. The controls were smoother. The power flowed better. He could feel the phase shift drive humming beneath his feet, ready to take him outside normal space at a moment's notice. All ships report ready, Commander, Hyun said from his station. Good, Dae-won said. He opened a fleet-wide channel. This is Commander Dae-won to all ships. In a few hours, we face the greatest threat our empire has ever known. Many of us will not survive. But we fight anyway, because that's what we do. We protect those who cannot protect themselves, human and Velthran together, for everyone who calls this galaxy home. Across the fleet, acknowledgments came back. Velthran voices and human voices, united in purpose if not yet in trust. The swarm was coming, and they were ready to fight, as ready as they would ever be. The swarm arrived early. It always did. The fleet had expected another 12 hours. They got 3. Long-range sensors detected the massive darkness approaching at impossible speed. It filled half the sky, blotting out the stars like a living nightmare. All ships, battle stations! Admiral Minho's voice rang across the fleet. This is not a drill. The swarm is here. Commander Dae-won watched the main screen as the darkness approached. It was so big, so impossibly big. The scout tendril at Haven 12 had been terrifying. This was beyond terror. This was the end of everything unless they could stop it. "Distance?" he asked. 2 million kilometers in closing, Lieutenant Hune reported. His voice was steady, despite the fear in his eyes. "Impact with planetary defense grid in 30 minutes. Captain Jiwan's face appeared on the communication screen. She looked tired but determined. "Commander, remember the tactics we practiced. Don't engage the main mass directly. Hit the tendrils, cut them off, make the swarm divide its attention." "Understood," Daewon said. "All ships, form defensive pattern Alpha. Protect the evacuation transports at all costs." Behind the military fleet, civilian ships were launching from Veltra Prime, millions of people trying to escape. But there was nowhere to run. The swarm was too big, too fast. If the fleet failed, those transports would be consumed too. The swarm reached the outer defense stations first. Automated weapons platforms opened fire with everything they had: missiles, energy beams, kinetic rounds. Thousands of weapons hitting the darkness all at once. It did nothing. The swarm absorbed the weapons like water-absorbing drops of rain. The defense stations began to dissolve, breaking apart into dust that the darkness consumed. "Phase shift, drives online," Hyun reported. "Resonance cannons charged." "All ships, fire at will," Minho ordered. The hybrid fleet opened fire, 200 ships unleashing waves of dimensional disruption into the swarm. Unlike conventional weapons, these worked. The darkness writhed and pulled back where the waves hit. Pieces broke away and dissipated. "We're hurting it!" someone shouted. "Keep firing," Daewon ordered. "Don't let up." The battle became chaos. The swarm lashed out with massive tendrils, each one bigger than a warship. They tried to grab the fleet, to pull them in and consume them. But the phase shift drives let the ships dodge, appearing and disappearing across the battlefield. Daewon's destroyer phased out of normal space just as a tendril swept through where it had been. He reappeared 2,000 kilometers away and fired again. The resonance cannons disrupted the tendril, making it retreat. "This is working," Hyun said in amazement. "We're actually fighting it." But not everyone was so lucky. A Velthron cruiser phased in too close to the swarm. Before it could escape, darkness wrapped around it. The crew had seconds to scream before their ship dissolved. 300 lives gone in an instant. "Maintain distance," Minho ordered. "Don't get cocky. One mistake and you're dead." The battle raged for an hour. The fleet fought with everything they had. They cut away tendrils. They disrupted sections of the main mass. They protected the evacuation transports. But it wasn't enough. The swarm was too big. For every piece they destroyed, it grew back. It was learning their tactics, adapting, getting smarter. And then something changed. "Commander!" Hyun shouted. "The swarm is accelerating! It's pushing toward the planet directly!" Daewon saw it happen. The swarm stopped attacking the fleet. Instead, it ignored them completely and drove toward Velthra Prime, toward the billions of people still on the surface. "All ships intercept course," Minho ordered desperately. "We have to stop it." But they couldn't. The swarm was too fast now, too determined. It reached the upper atmosphere and began to descend. Darkness fell across the capital city like a curtain. On the surface, alarms wailed. People ran through the streets in panic. They had minutes, maybe seconds. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Jinwu stood at his window. He watched the darkness coming and felt utterly helpless. This was his world, his people, and he couldn't save them. Counselor Yunji stood beside him. "Your Majesty, we must evacuate you." "No," Jinwu said quietly. "If my people die, I die with them. That's what an emperor does." "Your Majesty, that's an order, Counselor." Above the planet, Captain Jiwan watched the swarm descend. She had seen this before. 2 human worlds consumed, billions dead, the same thing happening again. "No," she whispered. "Not again. Never again." She opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is Captain Jiwan. I need you to fall back." Get clear of the planet. What are you planning? Minho demanded. Something I should have done 3 years ago, Jiwon said. I'm ending this. Captain, what are you talking about? Daewon asked. Jiwon smiled sadly. The swarm came through a rift in subspace. That rift is still open somewhere, connecting our dimension to theirs. That's how they keep growing, keep adapting. As long as the rift exists, we can't truly kill them. So? Hyun asked. So we close the rift, Borum said. He appeared on screen beside Jiwon. We've been working on a device, an inverse phase reactor. It creates a localized collapse in space-time. It will seal the rift permanently. That's good news, Minho said. Deploy it immediately. We can't deploy it from a distance, Jiwon said. Someone has to take it into the heart of the swarm, into the exact center of the main mass. And they have to detonate it manually. The implication hit everyone at once. It was a suicide mission. No, Daewon said immediately. There has to be another way. There isn't, Jiwon said firmly. And it has to be me. The Defiant Dawn has the best phase shift drive, the best shields, the best chance of reaching the center. And I've been fighting this thing longer than anyone. I know what to do. Captain, you don't have to do this, Minho said. Something like respect had entered his voice. We can find another way. No, we can't, Jiwon said. She looked at the camera, making eye contact with everyone watching. This is why we came. This is why humans traveled across the galaxy warning everyone, not to conquer, not to invade, but to fix the mistake we made 500 years ago. This is our responsibility. Let me finish it. Captain, Daewon started. Take care of my crew, Jiwon interrupted. Boram, Taeyang, everyone. They're good people. Teach them, learn from them, build something better together. She closed the channel before anyone could argue further. The Defiant Dawn turned toward the swarm. Its phase shift drive engaged fully, taking it deeper into dimensional space than ever before. The ship became almost invisible, existing more in subspace than in reality. It dove into the darkness. Inside, Jiwon flew her ship manually. The swarm pressed in from all sides. Tendrils tried to grab her. The darkness tried to consume the hull, but the phase shift drive kept her just out of reach. Not fully in one dimension or the other. Untouchable. She pushed deeper, deeper into the heart of the nightmare. Deeper than anyone had ever gone before. Come on, old girl, she whispered to her ship. Just a little further. The center of the swarm was different. She could see it now, a rift, a tear in reality itself. Through it, she could see something else, another dimension, a place of darkness and hunger, the home of the swarm. That's where it came from. That's where it kept drawing power. Close that rift, and the swarm would die. Jiwon positioned her ship directly in front of the rift. She activated the inverse phase reactor. It hummed to life, building power. The device was simple in theory, catastrophic in practice. It would create a singularity that would pull both dimensions together and seal them shut. But it would take everything with it. This is Captain Jiwon to the fleet, she said into the communication channel one last time. Tell Emperor Jin Woo I'm sorry I couldn't stay for the victory celebration. Tell Admiral Minho he was right not to trust us at first. That was smart. Tell Commander Daewon thank you for giving us a chance. And tell everyone that humans and Velthrans together can face anything. Remember that. Remember us. She activated the reactor. Light exploded outward. Not normal light. Dimensional light. Light from spaces that shouldn't exist in reality. The rift began to collapse. The swarm writhed and screamed. If darkness could scream, this was that sound. The fleet watched from a safe distance. They saw the light growing in the center of the swarm, saw the darkness pulling inward, being sucked toward a single point. She did it, Hyun whispered. She actually did it. The singularity swallowed everything. The rift. The swarm. the defiant dawn. In seconds, it was all gone. The darkness vanished like it had never existed. The sky above Velthra Prime cleared. Stars became visible again. The swarm was dead. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The fleet floated in space, stunned by what they had witnessed. One human woman had sacrificed herself to save billions of lives, to save an entire empire of people she barely knew. "Captain Jiwon," Minho said quietly, "you will be remembered." On the surface of Velthra Prime, people emerged from shelters. They looked up at the clear sky in disbelief. They had been seconds from death. Now they were alive, saved by someone they would never meet, saved by a hero from another species. Emperor Jinwu stood in his palace, tears running down his face. "Prepare a monument," he ordered, "the largest we have ever built. She saved us all." The days that followed were strange. Cleanup, recovery, rebuilding, but also something new, something unexpected. Ambassador Hana stood before Emperor Jinwu formally. "Your Majesty, on behalf of humanity, I propose a permanent alliance, not just military, not just technological, but cultural, educational, social. Let our species learn from each other, grow together, face the future as partners." Jinwu didn't hesitate. "Agreed. From this day forward, humanity and the Velthran Empire are allies, equals, friends." The treaty was signed 1 week later. Humans and Velthrans working together, sharing technology, sharing knowledge, building something neither could have built alone. Borum stayed on Velthra Prime. He worked with Lieutenant Hyun to design new ships, hybrid vessels that combined the best of both species. They became close friends, despite their differences. Taeyang joined the Imperial Science Academy. He taught dimensional physics to Velthran students. Many of them surpassed even him within years. Together, they pushed the boundaries of what was possible. General Nari, who had distrusted humans so deeply, became one of their strongest advocates. She trained joint military units, human and Velthran soldiers working side by side, learning each other's strengths. Commander Daewon was promoted to admiral. His first act was to create a memorial fleet, 200 ships, one for each vessel that fought in the final battle. The lead ship was named the Jiwon's Legacy. It patrolled the borders, ready to face any threat to either species. The monument Emperor Jinwu ordered was completed 1 year later. It stood in the center of the capital city, 100 meters tall. 2 figures carved from white stone. A human and a Velthran warrior standing back to back, facing opposite directions, protecting each other, trusting each other. The inscription at the base read, "Out of nowhere she came, into forever she goes." Captain Jiwon, who taught us that strength comes not from standing alone, but from standing together. Every day, thousands of people visited the monument, human and Velthran both. They left flowers. They left messages of thanks. They told their children the story of the woman who saved the galaxy. And in deep space, where the rift had been, there was nothing. Just empty void. Silent and peaceful. The swarm was gone. Truly gone. The threat that had consumed civilizations for 500 years was finally ended. Humanity's greatest mistake had been corrected, not by running, not by hiding, but by taking responsibility, by helping others, by sacrificing everything to make things right. The galaxy would remember, the galaxy would learn, and perhaps most importantly, the galaxy would move forward, together. Because that's what Captain Jiwon had shown them, that no matter how different species might be, they could work together. They could trust each other. They could build something greater than any single civilization could achieve alone. Out of nowhere, a human warship had appeared. The Empire had been unable to react, but in the end, that impossible appearance had saved them all. And it was just the beginning.